So, as promised, I'm gonna start recording little bits of training with a sword because, well, because it's boring and everybody's in the houses. So, I'm fortunate enough to have a decent backyard, and forgive my clumsiness, had a little bit of problems with the back, like lately, but recovering. So, hey, Priscilla. Alright, so, at first, as always, at the beginning of every session, you want to warm up your arms and legs and the back and all this stuff. So, everybody knows this, there's no reason to go in details on what you need to do. What you might want to do is to wear gloves. The reason why you want to wear gloves is because the handles better, and because if you do sparring with somebody, surprisingly, even the thin ones will actually soften the blow quite a bit, and it actually helps. Trust me. Especially, like I said, especially if you're sparring, because somebody hits you on the pinky, you hate that person for a while. Anyway, so assuming that you warmed up, right? So we're moving typically to the next stage, where you're trying to work out how to handle a sword and how to hold it and stuff. So typically, everybody ends up training with the bookends, whereas the usual bookend, right? So what's interesting is that there's different techniques to hold it. There's a bunch of people who will hold it like this, which is actually a little bit wrong. What you want to do, especially if you're a bit on the weaker side, if you're smaller, you want to create as much leverage between two hands as possible. If you're left-handed, if you're right-handed, doesn't matter. Sorry, Adrian, it's all the same. But what is different for some techniques is this bit. So in some techniques, you will hold sword like this. It will create a little bit of extra oomph, and it controls the thrusts better because you hold it with your finger. What stops you from doing is doing this, which is typically used in the swords like this, or sometimes even in the katanas, you actually do hit somebody with the back. So it's your choice. I typically prefer to hold it like this, but just remember the space. The second part, sorry, the second part is how you hold it in front of you. So many people do this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this. What you want to do is your solar plexus, the fist, and the back of the sword. The reason why you want to have that space is so if somebody hits you, if there is any type of resistance, you don't need yourself, and you don't go in a few moments. If you move too far, your hands will tear too much. So there is that optimal space that you actually want to control. So the other part is, of course, hands. So for many of us who work with the computers, wrists are the problem. You want to not only warm your wrists, but you want to strengthen them. So later, you can do things with the big and heavy ones like this without going cringing over end. So what you do for that is a very simple series of exercises which we never do in a sword speed, but hey, everybody can do it. So you grab your bookend by the opposite side. Doesn't really matter how you do it. You can do it with one hand, or you can do it with two if it's too heavy for you. And you start by basically drawing letters from 1 to 0. Going in progression. You're trying to make it as smooth as possible, leading the blade, and what you're also trying to do is to make it as wide as possible. Basically, it should be frame of your body that you draw it. If you feel super comfortable doing that, there's always a trick. to make it harder for yourself. Water just fell down. But basically you just grab a bowl of water or anything, you put it on the end of the stick, and you do this. Suddenly, especially if you're trying to not go very fast, it actually becomes very, very hard to do. So keep doing that every time when you're training. Your wrists will progressively become stronger. If you did not do it again, if you did not do it with one hand, there was always the second one. If you're super cocky, you can go get yourself a metal sword and do this. And then your hands will fall. It bites in the hand. That's actually another good reason to wear gloves when you're training. But anyway, so it's part of the wrist. The second part of the wrist exercises is to do this. Grab it in the middle and you do this. You're trying to do it fast, powerful. If you do it inside, you can actually hear the sword walking, so doing around. Do it actually long enough, again, your wrist will come. Second part is of course the strikes. So everybody who's been to Sword XP knows the angulation system, all that. What you don't do enough is this. 1, 2, 3. It's an interesting technique that candidates typically would use. You learn to fixate the height. You go in the 3 heights, which is basically head, torso, legs. The reason why you want to do it is because, again, if you're sparring with the partner later on, doesn't matter if you do choreography, doesn't matter if you do regular sparring. What happens is people do this uncontrollably, and if you hit somebody, you damage them, which is ironically the idea, but you don't know what to do when you're sparring with somebody just for fun. So you learn to control the sword, you learn to be in control, where the blade doesn't lead you, you lead the blade. So typically I would do this in progressions for about, if I start from very long recovery, if I've been out of shape for a while, I typically start with 20 of each. And what you do, you don't want to go fast. You want to go exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. You always strike on exhale. Reason for that is because it compresses you and your power comes from the torso. Right? It's all very simple, but people seem to forget about it. And you don't hold your breath. Just never do this because you will pay for it. So, you do strikes, you do vertical strikes, diagonal ones, and then of course you do the horizontal ones. If you feel like doing the sequences, instead of doing the 3 or just keep doing 1, you can always do that. remember that in the end of the day, the sword for you is supposed to be the extension of your limbs, extension of your arms. It's just slightly different properties, but it's still extension of you. That's why controlling it, that's why knowing where it goes and stopping it at the right time makes sense. Hi, Lana. So, once you warm that and done all the strength exercises, you typically would go in the area of, hey, nice sound behind me. You typically start to do the sequence. So if you're working by yourself, you unfortunately limited to the imagination that you can do. Of what you can do, what you can imagine, where the attacks will go. If you're working with the partner, you're more lucky. You can start working in response, question, response system. So, being today that I'm doing this alone, Lana might join me later in next videos, but today I'm doing it alone. I just generally practice with the idea of what I would be doing. So, the other thing to remember as you're practicing, like I said, it will be the short one, the first one. We are always end up on our fit. So here it's very good grind for me because I actually don't have very leveled one, but all pebbles and stuff, right? If typically you do it in the gym, you tend to have very smooth surface and it screws you over because you stop learning to step, right? You always slide. You're starting to go into the usual problem with the pencils. That. And, well, it's nice for the sport, but it's not nice for anything else. In real life, if you do the sword fighting, if you do the staging, you always have very unleveled grind, and so just always remember to look around, try to not step on things, try not to bounce off things, and well, let's see how we'll go with the first one, and then we'll just go from there. Cheers.